Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be talking about the must-add players on the waiver wire. We have a bunch of guys on this list ranging from 5% to 80% rostered, and I think there are some massive gems in here, so let's dive right into it. The first player on this list is Ryan Hartman of the Minnesota Wild. He was on a previous must-add player video, and he hasn't really performed well since then, but I still believe in him, especially because he got moved back up to the first line beside Matt Zuccarello and Kirill Kaprizov. He was on this line last year, and he had 34 goals. He had a breakout season. He was absolutely incredible. The Wild do have a lot of trouble scoring goals, and maybe this could provide a spark for them. You know, get that line back together. I don't know why they haven't been together this whole time. It's not like Sam Steele's played exceptionally well, so finally they are doing it, and I think it is worth taking a flyer on Hartman and seeing how he does. Number 19 on this list is Boone Jenner of the Columbus Blue Jackets. He has played pretty good this season. He just came back from injury recently, and he's played decent. Obviously, he can only play so good being on the Columbus Blue Jackets, but his deployment is amazing. He's on the first line. He's on the first line power play. He has 29 points in 43 games with 15 goals. He had 9 shots the other night. He is just firing the puck. So if your league values peripherals, especially shots, then Boone Jenner is worth adding. I think 35% roster is too low for how he's been playing. So if your league does count shots, definitely take a look at adding Boone Jenner. Number 18 on this list is Tyler Bertuzzi of the Detroit Red Wings. He only has 8 points in 22 games this year and also only 2 goals. This is absolutely terrible. 2 goals in 22 games, coming off a season where he put up 30 goals in 68 games. Super disappointing, but he has had a season that has been super injury riddled. He's finally back healthy. The Red Wings are kind of on a roll, so I think it's worth taking a chance at Bertuzzi, adding him. He's playing on the first line and the first line power play. The chances are going to come, and I'm hoping that he has a good second half of the season. Obviously, what we've seen so far hasn't been great, but for a young player that was almost a point per game last year, 30 goals, like I said, 21% roster is way too low, and I expect him to pick things up very soon. Number 17 on this list is another Red Wings player, Jakub Vrana. He just got called up from the AHL 2 days ago, and he is expected to play in the next couple of games. He's been out since October 15 due to personal reasons. He was on a conditioning stint in the AHL, started off slow, but he's picked it up as of late, scoring more goals, and the Red Wings feel that he is ready to join the team and help them out. In his 2 games that he did play with the Red Wings this year, he had 2 points and 1 goal. Yes, a very small sample size, but if you're actually looking at Vrana's history in the NHL, then you'll see that he's one of the league's top 5v5 goal scorers. I think he was like second, only behind Austin Matthews. So this guy can put the puck in the net. Last season, he had 13 goals in 26 games, so a 0.5 goals per game pace. And with the Red Wings kind of heating up as of late, Vrana could hop into that offense and start producing real quick. You add him, see how it goes, and hopefully it works out. Number 16 is Pavel Zacha, who's having a really good season thus far with the Bruins, playing alongside David Pastrnak on that second line. He currently has 37 points in 53 games, along with 12 goals. He only had 36 points in 70 games last season, so it looks like he is breaking out on this really good Bruins team. He has all positional eligibilities, center, left wing, and right wing, which is very valuable. And at 26% rostered, I think that's too low for how he's been playing compared to some other guys. I think in leagues with 12 teams or more, he should be rostered, and I expect him to continue this type of production for the rest of the season. All right, number 15 is the final Red Wings player on this list. This is the third one we've talked about, and this guy I think takes the cake for how he's been playing, and that is Robby Fabbri. He has played extremely solid so far since coming back from injury. He has 11 points in 17 games and also 6 goals. He's playing in the top 6 on the first line power play. The thing with Fabbri is that he has been extremely injury prone the last couple of seasons. It's kind of derailed his development. So far, what we've seen from him is that he has a lot of potential. So if he can stay healthy, he could potentially have a really good second half of the season. He had 17 goals and a total of 30 points in 56 games last year, and that's pretty good for a guy that's only 5% rostered. So if you're in a league with 12 teams or more, this guy needs to be added. He is playing exceptionally well, and I'm excited to see how he plays for the rest of the year. Number 13 on this list is Ondrej Palat of the New Jersey Devils. After 10 years with the Tampa Bay Lightning, he signed with the Devils in the offseason, and although he's been been injured for most of the year. Since coming back, he has played really good. He has 14 points in 21 games, 6 of these points being goals, and his deployment on a really good Devils team is great. He's on the first line, he's on the first line power play. This might get switched around when Jack Hughes returns from injury, but I still think Palat will be on the first line power play when Hughes comes back. He doesn't put up amazing peripherals, so if your league counts those, he might not be the best option, but I think he's going to put up a lot of points for the rest of the year. Definitely look at adding him if he's sitting on your waiver wire and you need a guy to add for long term. Number 12 is Dillon Dube of the Calgary Flames, and he's a must-add player right now because he is playing super well as of late. He's found himself on the first line power play. He's playing on the first line. Huberdeau has actually been bumped to the second line power play, so I don't know if that's going to stay for the rest of the year, but if Dube keeps performing how he's been performing, then I expect him to stay there. This year he has 33 points in 54 games. 15 of these points are goals, and this is a career high number of points for Dube. He is a young player, so this could be a little bit of a mini breakout. Yes, Calgary is a little bit streaky, but they also have one of the best playoff schedules, so Dube could be a really good long-term hold going into this stretch where we're about to approach the playoffs. He could potentially help your team a lot. In any leagues with 12 teams or more, I think Dube needs to be rostered. All right, number 11 is Filip Chytil of the New York Rangers. This guy has been on fire as of late. He currently has 33 points in 46 games, but 19 goals in these 46 games. And this is a guy that has been playing on the third line for most of the season. This is super impressive. He hasn't really seen this type of production his whole career. But right now, he's playing on the first line power play. Do I think this is going to change? Probably. With Tarasenko coming into the fold, I doubt you want to keep Tarasenko off that first line power play, but you never know what could happen. If Chytil keeps playing this good, he might find a way to stay on there. He is playing really well, so I like him as a long-term hold in any leagues with 12 teams or more. Number 10 on this list is probably one of the most underrated players in this league. That guy is Nick Schmaltz of the Arizona Coyotes. He currently has 35 points in 39 games on the year, also 14 goals. And pretty much in his last 82 games, he's been a point per game player. He's playing on the first line. He's playing on the first line power play. So I expect him to keep up this pace because we saw what he did last year. He had 59 points in 63 games. 36% rostered for a guy that's a point per game player is way too low. So if he's sitting on your waiver wire, you know, in a league with 10 teams or more, he needs to be added. And I expect him to continue having those big nights that we've been seeing thus far. Number 9 is Filip Gustavsson of the Minnesota Wild. I've talked about this guy in a lot of my videos. Some must-add player videos, some week guide videos, and I've always said he's a great must-add player, but the issue is that he has been splitting starts with Fleury. Yes, this is probably going to be the case for the rest of the season, but he has started the last couple of games because Fleury got pulled. If you just look at his stats, he has outplayed Fleury. I mean, a 2.18 goals against average and a .9268 save percentage is absolutely incredible. He sits in the top 5 in the league in terms of these stats. Compared to Fleury's numbers, he is clearly the better goalie. The only issue, and I understand why a lot of people wouldn't want to roster him, is volume. If he's splitting starts with Fleury, he might only get 1 or 2 starts a week, depending on the Minnesota Wild schedule. I personally wouldn't add him on my team because my goalie situation is good. But if your goalie situation is kind of in trouble, I would definitely take a look at adding Gustavsson. The upside is that if Fleury keeps performing poorly, then it could be maybe a 2 starts for Gustavsson and 1 start for Fleury situation moving forward. We'll see what happens, but with his stats, there's no doubt that he will put up a lot of fantasy points for the rest of the year. Number 8 is Bowen Byram of the Colorado Avalanche. And yes, I know he's been a massive band-aid. He has missed the majority of this season, and last season too, he had concussion issues. He has played extremely well since coming back from injury. He has 8 points in 15 games, he has 2 goals, and he puts up really good peripherals too. Doesn't take a lot of shots, but puts up some blocks and hits. So I definitely like Byram as a long-term hold in any leagues with 10 teams or more. Colorado has one of the best playoff schedules, if not the best playoff schedule in the entire league. So overall, all things considered, Byram is a very solid add, and I think it could really help your team if you can stay healthy. Number 7 on this list is Carter Verhaeghe of the Florida Panthers, and this guy's been a massive steal if you were able to add him in the last couple of weeks. He has put up so many points, some monster nights as well. He currently has 49 points in 56 games, but in these 49 points, he has 29 goals. Absolutely incredible stuff. He is on pace for 42 goals, and he currently leads the Panthers in goals scored. This is a guy that they don't even have on the first line power play right now, which I don't understand at all. but nonetheless, he is still amazing 5-on-5. His roster percentage has skyrocketed. It's at 75% now. So in most of your leagues, he's not going to be available. But for you guys that are in more shallow leagues with maybe 8 teams or less, I would definitely take a look at Verhaeghe. Although the Panthers are currently not in a playoff spot, they are one of the top goal scoring teams in the league. So overall, I love Verhaeghe for the rest of the year. I do think he might cool down a bit. He's a little bit of a streaky player, but I expect him to hit 40 goals this season and probably 70 to 75 points. All right, number 6 on this list is Joel Eriksson Ek, and he is one of the most underrated players, not just in real life, but in fantasy as well. He has played so good as of late. I was fortunate enough to pick him up like about 3 weeks ago. He's been super good since then. And just looking at his stats here, he has 45 points in 54 games, also 21 goals. So he's on pace for an almost 35 goal season. And what really stands out here is that he has 20 power play points in 54 games. I really like how he's playing. If your league counts shots, blocks, and hits, he puts up amazing peripherals. And I just think he's going to keep up this type of production for the rest of the year. Definitely take a look at him if you are looking to add a player that will boost your fantasy team. Number 5 is Brock Nelson of the Islanders. And I know that I just told you that I added Verhaeghe and Eriksson Ek like 2 or 3 weeks ago, but I also added Nelson around this time, and he has been the best out of those 3. He has been incredible. I think he's on an 11 game point streak right now. Currently he has 52 points in 57 games, along with 22 goals. He's actually putting up more points than last year. He has kept up, being a super relevant fantasy player. And I think in any leagues with 8 teams or more, this guy needs to be rostered. He's also taking a lot more shots this year. So if your league value shots, he is a great person to have on your fantasy team. At 69% rostered, I think this should be higher. So if he is sitting on your waiver wire and you're looking to add him, I suggest you do. Islanders have a decent playoff schedule as well. Number 4 is Adin Hill of the Vegas Golden Knights. And the reason that he's a must-add player is because Logan Thompson went down with an injury about a week ago, and he is currently out week to week. This could mean potentially, a month, maybe means 2 weeks, maybe a month and a half. But either way, Adin Hill is going to be starting the majority of games on a team that is going to make the playoffs. This could mean a lot of wins. His stats are pretty good too, with a 2.55 goals against average and a .909 save percentage. His record is 12-5-1. I think this could be a really good add for the rest of the year. And maybe if Thompson continues to be injured, this could be a free starting goalie on your team come the playoffs, come your fantasy playoffs. This could be so big for you. And even if Thompson does come back for the fantasy playoffs, you're going to have a guy that's going to start a lot of games and get a lot of wins for the next couple of weeks. So I highly suggest you add Adin Hill. Number 3 is Los Angeles Kings starting goaltender Pheonix Copley, a sentence that Kings fans probably wouldn't believe if you told them that a couple of months ago. This guy has been a career AHLer, a career NHL backup, but he has found himself in the starter's crease, and he has definitely taken advantage of this massive opportunity. His record is 17-3-1 with a 2.74 goals against average and a .903 save percentage. Yes, his stats aren't the best, but that record is absolutely incredible. The Kings are a really solid team. I mean, 53% rostered for a guy that is getting majority of the games, a guy that has a record of 17-3-1. That's just crazy to me. This guy needs to be added. He needs to be rostered. If you're looking to add a goaltender for your fantasy team and, upcoming for this fantasy playoffs, then you need to look at Copley. I think he is going to put up a lot of fantasy points for the rest of the year. The Kings are a dangerous team. Number 2 is Jakob Chychrun of the Arizona Coyotes, a part of the saga that seems to never end. That is him being traded. And yeah, I mean, he's been sitting out for the last couple of games for trade-related reasons, but he hasn't been traded. And this is something that we haven't really seen at all in recent years. I can't really think of a time that that's happened. Usually it's when a trade is imminent, but he is likely going to get traded to a contender, which is why I think he is a must-add player. This has been a career year for Chychrun. He has 28 points in 36 games with 7 goals, and he's also a +8 on a bottom-of-the-barrel Coyotes team. He also puts up amazing peripherals, so if your league counts those, he is an absolute absolute beast. In my league, his average fantasy points is actually higher than guys like Adam Fox. It's similar to Cale Makar. I think if Chychrun is somehow available in any of your leagues, you should definitely add him. There's not a lot of risk of holding him onto your team unless you have no IR spots available. So if you do, you could definitely just stash him and then wait until the trade deadline to see what happens. If you don't have an IR spot available and you're thinking about adding him, I think there is an argument to be made that you should. There's a chance that he gets moved in a couple of days. If that's the case, he could be playing for a team like the Kings in like 5 to 6 days. And yeah, it just depends if you want to take that risk. It also depends who you're dropping. Even on the Coyotes, Chychrun has been great, which is why I think you should add him. And if he gets moved to the Kings or the Bruins or another similar contender, this could be massive for his fantasy value and your fantasy team. Number 1 player on this list is Adrian Kempe of the Los Angeles Kings. Yes, he is probably not available in most of your leagues. His current roster percentage sits at 80%, and that is because he has been so incredible as of late. He has 10 points in his last 5 games, and in these 5 games, he has 7 goals. He had a 4-goal night the other night, and yeah, he's just been on fire. He struggled early on in the season, but he started to pick it up in the last month. He currently sits at 27 goals in 55 games, putting him on pace for 39 to 40 goals this season, actually improving on his goal total from last year, which was a career high. That was 35 goals in 78 games. Last year was not a fluke. Clearly, he is an elite level player. So if he is somehow available in your league, which I'm assuming is going to be a shallow league with 8 teams or less, I suggest you add him. The Kings can score a lot of goals. He's playing on the first line. He's playing on the first line power play. Overall, I expect him to keep putting the puck in the net and having those big nights on a really good offensive Kings team. All right, guys, that's the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you hit that like button below and also subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. I would really appreciate it. And I will catch you in the next one. Like always, have a good one.